Hello! It's time for an orchid update. It's been a long time since I made a video, and there's a lot of stuff going on, so I'm just going to start with this. This is Nellie Euler, Oncidopsis Nellie Euler, and this is Swiss Beauty. I've had her for about a year. She smells so beautiful. I really love this orchid. If I could, I would get an extra of it because it doesn't take much light to get it to bloom. It's very willing to bloom, even on a plant with bad roots. The color contrast and patterning on this is amazing, and oh my goodness gracious me, the fragrance is very powerful, very citrusy, and very sweet. I will say though, my wife hates the smell of it. She says it smells like kind of moldy lemons. I don't really see the moldy part, but I do see the lemons. I have her potted up in hydroponics, and I actually am having difficulty getting this thing to root. It is making new roots. I don't know if you can see this right here. These are new roots off the new growth. They are literally just dying in the air, and I've been trying to keep this more moist in the hopes that these roots will penetrate the medium. They just haven't done that, and my old roots aren't branching, and I think they look kind of bad. My new growth, the bulb is plump on it, and then the old growths are plump on it as well. I mean, they're a tiny bit wrinkly, but for the most part they still have maintained a lot of hydration. It doesn't look to be dehydrated, and it looks like a lot of the old roots are still good, but you know what you don't want in an orchid is for it to just stop making roots, because eventually those old roots, they die. So I feel like I'm kind of fighting an uphill battle with this one. I'm doing a bad job getting it to really just thrive. It's blooming, it's making a second spike from this new growth as well, and which is kind of cool. This thing double spikes for me all the time, but I really want it to thrive because I mean, it's just such a great orchid, and I know a lot of people have difficulty with it too, so I'm not the only one. But so that's this one, and you know, it's not all bad as far as hydroponics go for Miltoniopsis. This is a Albertson's Miltoniopsis that I purchased, and I potted it up into hydroponics, and this is kind of like a hybrid setup for hydroponics. It's got a really airy, lightly packed, just barely in there sphagnum moss, and also a wick. And here's the wick, as you can see, and there's a little bit of sphagnum moss poking out there. But this one, oddly enough, this is probably the most success I've had with getting Miltoniopsis to root. If you can look in here, I don't know if it's very apparent to you, but that root, that green root in there, that's a new one, and it's actually penetrating the media. And my old bulb, it has plumped up a little bit. So, and look at this. This is a new thing for me. My new growth is barely accordion-y at all. So perhaps this is the way to go for me with Miltoniopsis, and maybe this is the beginning of a beautiful new relationship. The jury's still out because my Nellie Euler, which is a Miltoniopsis hybrid, is doing not so great. So the jury's still out. We'll see how this goes. I'll keep you posted and updated, but with this particular Miltoniopsis, it worked out well. I have another bloom to show you. This one is Laeliocatlia mini song, Petite. I got this particular orchid from Carmelis quite a long while ago, and this is such a beautiful blooming. I love the form of this bloom. I love the shape. I love the color. The splashing is not the most contrasty of splashing on the petals, but man, you can't beat the form. It is fragrant. It's a cross between Mini Purple and Mari Song, both of which are very fragrant. This one, oddly enough, smells like neither parent to me, really. It smells kind of like a fragrance candle. It has kind of like a wax to it and a sweetness. It's kind of almost that Cattleya sugar cookie kind of smell. And she's doing extremely well. She's in hydroponics, and I don't know if you can see this, but I've got roots kind of circling all over this reservoir. And, you know, I kind of potted this way so that I could pull the top pot out and feel the wick, and when the wick's dry, I water. And this, unfortunately, is not working out so well for me because the roots on some Cattleyas are extremely adhering. And in this particular hybrid, they've adhered to this bottom plastic layer. I don't even know what they're attached to, but when I try and lift it out, I can't without breaking roots anymore, so I have stopped lifting it out. But luckily the roots in the reservoir, they aren't coated in algae, so I can still fairly reasonably tell when the pot is dry. And this is a very airy method of growing Cattleyas, so I have lots of healthy roots on this, doing very well. So here she is, Cattleya Mini Song Petite, one of my favorites. And I should also mention this is a miniature. It's only, you know, it's about 7-8 inches tall, and she blooms multiple times a year. Forgot to mention that. I'm actually fully expecting this growth to bloom if it gets enough light, but we will see. So that's her. Moving on to the next plant. So I kind of want to give a quick update on some fails I've done with hydroponics. So this is an example of a fail. This is my Cattleya nobilior form Amali, I believe. And I need to redo this because she's making new root tips, so this is the time to strike. But I don't know if you can see this. Do you see that little white thing sticking out there? I don't know if my camera's going to focus. That was a mushroom. It literally was a toadstool. It was disgusting. It made me very angry because this is an expensive orchid, and I like this orchid so far. But this is an orchid hydroponic fail, and I got cocky. I potted my Cattleya eclandier similarly to this. I didn't bother taking it out of a net pot, and it did really well, but this one did not, and I'm thinking it's because there's moss hidden away in here, and that moss is keeping things way too wet. And then on other parts of this plant, it's far too dry, so a lot of my root tips on my older roots from the season are desiccated and dead, so this is a fail. I'm going to repot this ASAP. I'm going to get rid of this net pot, and we're going to do this the right way and hope we can get this to recover with these new roots popping out. Thankfully, the new growth does have a little bit of heft to it. It's nowhere near as fat as the old growth, and the old growths are shriveling away, so I consider that a hydroponics fail. Another hydroponics fail I had was with Phalaenopsis grosbeak. Phalaenopsis do not like hydroponics at all, at least not the way I set them up. I set them up like they were Cattleyas in hydroponics, and they are not Cattleyas. They don't like to be dry, and they don't like to be soggy, so that was a fail. I threw away my Phalaenopsis grosbeak because you know what? I had issues with it. I had mealybugs for a year, I had root rot from old moss for a year, and it had been 2 years since I'd seen blooms on my Phalaenopsis grosbeak, and I was kind of over it. I kind of wanted to move on, and I did. So it is now in the garbage heap somewhere in Arizona. So it was a wonderful plant while I had it. I've grew it since 2012, so it was a 7 to 8 year run with that plant, and I'm sad to see it go, but I'm also sick of fussing with it. If you have any suggestions on how I can have a long-term plan for my novelty Phalaenopsis, I'd love to hear it, because potting traditionally it works when they're small, but when they start walking and leaning over and growing their new roots outside the pot, it's kind of not a sustainable situation for them, so I need suggestions on how people grow these long term. And don't tell me to mount them, because mounting is too high maintenance. I can't do it, so I need to experiment with that particular type of plant. So just want to give you a quick update on a hydroponic success. So this is Cattleya Dick Smith, and look at these roots. This is a success. This is perfect. This is what you want to see in hydroponics. And she made a sheath for me. So far, Cattleya Dick Smith, or BLC Dick Smith, only blooms once a year in around January. So it'll be really exciting for me if this sheath makes a bud. That would be an excellent development, because Dick Smith has the hands down best Cattleya blooms of anything I own. So that's her. And here's another Albertson's orchid. I want to say this is Rhine Moonlight or Rhine Clown. It is a zygopetalum hybrid. I don't think it's a pure zygopetalum. And it had a ton of roots. I tried to unpot it from this cocoa coir and perlite mix, and I was unsuccessful because there was too many roots for me to really get it all out. So I just decided to pot it up with some wicks and see what happens. So I'll keep you posted on that. And this is Cattleya, or I forgot what it is. Cathron? I don't know. It has a funky name. Aka's Aloha Dream Dust, and she went through dramatic color change. She is now completely white with a hint of yellow, and she is incredibly fragrant. I wanted to update you on that. Just so fragrant, and it is gorgeous. I recommend this one highly, and she's adapting well to hydroponics. She's got new roots coming out, and I'm expecting her to do very well. Lastly, what I wanted to show you was Cattleya Landate. I bought this from Akatsuka, and let me tell you guys, it's 110 degrees outside, and this plant was in a box in that for 2.5 hours. So I'm surprised this made it, but it made it. The buds look luscious, and the roots are very healthy. So thank you very much, Akatsuka, for this wonderful acquisition to my collection. And I was touched. They supplied a face mask with the Orchid purchase, and it was a little feminine. I don't know if I would wear it not inside out with the actual pattern on it outside when I go to my job, but I wore it inside out yesterday. So thank you so much, Akatsuka. I loved that addition to the order as well. And that's all I got for you folks. I'll keep you posted on my hydroponics experimentations. Please do let me know how you grow your novelty Phalaenopsis long term, and please do fill me in on anything new with your lives. I want to hear from you. Give my video a like, subscribe if you want, and I'll see you around.